go ahead. I went ahead and done it because I know she's not feeling the best. Um,
Oh,
okay. We are doing this month a Valentine's Cash, which a bunch of you guys know about, and we're just, really pushing to get 4 Perks members 300 BV 3 times, and then we're gonna do a prize for everyone and just really helping everyone to just rank up 1 rank, which I know that you were talking to Rachel about that. I think it was last week. Just everyone just pushing to just
mhm.
rank up at least once, no matter what your, lifetime paid rank is. If you were paid rank like executive, for example, last month, go for Ruby this month. So I know that we're all really pushing for that this month. I'm super, super excited for. Um, and I just wanted to just kind of ask you just, let us know a little bit about you because I know not everyone knows, your story with the company, how long, you've been in. I know that you've been in corporate now for a little over 2 years, I believe it's been, and you've been, you were on the distributor side though before that, and you were selling, doing just like what we do for, I think it's been like 10 years. Is that what it's been? I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
so,
yes,
yeah. So just tell us a little bit about you.
absolutely. Okay. No, for sure. Well, I'm excited to be on with you guys. And yeah, so, every single person on here, right? You joined for a reason. And so for me, when I go back to that time, at the time my daughters were 1 and 2 years old, which is super crazy. And at the time, I wanted an extra $80 a month, which is so wild that that sounds like such a small, really amount of money compared to what the business ended up doing. But I wanted $80 a month to put my oldest, Jocelyn, who was 2 years old at the time, to put her in a dance class. And so that was the reason why I joined. And I always think it's so important to not only have that why of why you joined, but every step of the way, let that evolve and kind of have your new reason and that new goal that's super personal to you, because that's really the thing that keeps you going when things get tough. And so for me, it was at $80. I remember asking John, hey, I want to put Jossie in a dance class. And he's like, SheriLynn, what envelope will that come from? Because we did the Dave Ramsey envelopes. And so that was that was enough right there to make me go, okay, I got to figure out something. There's nothing like a mama on a mission. And so really, I feel like any female on a mission, and so that started it. But I'm just so thankful that I caught the vision. And at $80, I thought, well, man, what if I had enough for some extra spending money to go to Target, Starbucks, so I thought, gosh, if I could make $200, that would be insane. And that became the next goal. Then I'll never forget going, oh my goodness, this is nuts. Like I can hit these goals, and asking John, what's our mortgage? And I wrote down the number of our mortgage. And I was like, if I go diamond and I earn that bonus, and I was like, I could pay our mortgage at the time. And so then that became the next goal. And then it was like, what if I could pay cash for a car and we could save up? And then it became, okay, how much would it be? And I saved up until we could pay cash for an SUV. And so all along the way, I let my why grow. And I'm thankful because had I still had the $80 vision, I wouldn't have gone Ruby. I wouldn't have gone diamond, or maybe I would have hit that first goal and I would have stopped. And I think the biggest mistake people make oftentimes in this business is they have a goal and then they stop at it, or they hit it and they're like, okay, awesome. And they don't dream bigger and dream bigger. So the whole entire time of my business, I never stopped dreaming. I always set new goals. There were things I could write down. It was literally like, why are you doing this business? And I'm like, to pay for my 3 kids in private school, like their tuition. I had their tuition number. I actually not only had their tuition number down, I calculated their whole 13 years of education each. I know that number. And that was something that got me up when I didn't feel like it. That, man, when I was battling postpartum depression, like I had to remember why I was showing up, and I had to have something personal to me along with my team. And so that's my story. The business changed our life. Went to ambassador, and then took my 2.0 spot ambassador, took John's account ambassador. And I say that to say, okay, listen, if I can go ambassador 3 times, why can't you? You can. Okay. There's nothing different. And when I look at my business of when I got stuck and when I hit it, or how come I went ambassador the first time in 2 years, but then the second time it took me like 7 years, I didn't believe I could. So it's knowing the things, having that belief, setting those goals. So there's kind of a little bit of my story, Anna.
I love that. I'm glad that you really talked about just having your why every step. Every time you hit, a certain rank or a goal, you always had another why. It's just always continuing to grow. And I love that. And I know that you've always talked about, like, you've always had it somewheres where you could see it every single day. That's something that you've always kind of talked about with us. And so I love that just casting that vision repeatedly to ourselves every day, every time we hit a rank, all of that. So I have a couple of questions that some of these girls have asked for you to be able to answer. And these are girls that are, they're really pushing for diamond and above, or they already have hit diamond and they're, trying to go double, triple, and so on. So that's kind of the group that you're talking to today. Um, but so one of these questions is, what did hustling look like for you? What your schedule kind of was as you were growing and winning? Um, how you used every so how you used every moment to do your tasks, like with Thanksgiving and just like things going on and like with kids and all of that kind of stuff.
So I think the key number one is this. Every person in this business, your life is different, right? And if I go back when I first joined, my daughters were 1 and 2 years old, right? And they were both home. I couldn't afford Mother's Day out or preschool or daycare or anything. So it was like me and them, so I had two littles at home for a bit. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, then I could afford, like a little 2 day a week Mother's Day out. So I had them do that so I could knock out stuff. So my schedule looked different then, right? And then I had my son. And so, building the business with a newborn at home looked a lot different. And if I never experience this, but working a full-time job, right? Those that are going to be watching the recording, your time looks different. And maybe you're at work and you're like, listen, you don't know. So here's the thing, right? I'm like, Latasha's like, girl, that's me. Okay, no. But I mean, so everyone's is different. I've heard stories that, I always think of Sam Strickland as a teacher, working the business as a teacher and a cheerleading coach, and her things. Or I've had girls where they're going to college plus working two jobs. And so here's my point: none of us are going to have the same schedule. So step one is to go, okay, what are the tasks I have to get done? Like, what are my non-negotiables? Okay. And for me, and there's all the cute little sayings of them, like, well, you can post, you can message, you can follow up, add to your network. Okay. You can say them like that. What's your core four? But to me, I always knew I had to post on social media to show my business was open. But then I always felt like I had to be in conversations. So something easy for me was like, I'm like, man, I want to ask 10 people a day to join my team. That was something that I did a lot. And that I like saying post, message, follow up, expand your network. But my tasks were kind of in there. So it's like I wanted to show my business was open. A lot of times I'd make my coffee in the morning and I'd do it on my Instagram, or I would do it on a Facebook Live. I'd show my face, let them know, hey, these are real products. Like, this is what I'm doing. I would like to show something besides just the business, so someone may be connected with me. So I felt like when it comes to posting, sometimes, man, I think of the times when there's someone super into fitness. Like, that was never me. I don't think I've gone to the gym in like 20 years, but for some people, that's fitness is their thing, right? Or the people that know how to like cook all these amazing things. So they do the cooking, or the do-it-yourself DIY people, or you're a dog mom, or you're this, that. But you want to also find something where people are like, man, I kind of want to follow them because of this. So for me, a lot of it was like the whole mom life. I did a lot of, when I was early building my business to ambassadors, like kind of raising babies and building a business and raising babies, that was kind of like the little, I guess, marketing tool I use to show kind of like mom life. But you want to show them you're a person. You want to show them using the products. You want to tell your story, right? Why you joined, what this business has done for you. Well, SheriLynn, all I've done is make $50. Awesome. You need to share that. Would you pay to join? You know what I mean? And I think that's important. Oops, my computer's going to die, so I'm going to plug this in. But I think so many times we think, oh man, I have to have this whole powerful thing. It's like, listen, I joined this business for $100 to make $80. The first time I made $80, that was a win. Yes, we know what it can do and all that, but don't forget, you want to share the wins. You want to be excited. People want to join someone who's excited. So I'm just kind of saying, some of the, I was never scared to ask people to join my team. I always had a list of people I wanted to be in conversations with. If you don't have potential distributors and potential customers, you've got to grow your list. Well, SheriLynn, how do I grow my list? With conversations. Remember, someone buys a product for you, ask them to put up a host to post. Someone orders from you, ask them if they're open to extra income, right? All that type of stuff. So you got to have that list that you're growing. And then that I would use to follow up with. And then I wanted to always talk to new people. How did I expand my network? Honestly, I was so strategic in expanding my network. Anytime my kids joined a new sport, I added every single mom on Facebook. Every new year in school, I added every single mom. And then I would add those moms like mutual friends, like that would suggest. I never really was super big unless I was just going the host to post route, and which I did, where people would comment and I would send friend requests. But I did a lot of strategic friend requests where it was friends of friends, people that were like, oh, I know someone that knows her, or and I loved that because I felt like people felt more comfortable. And I think oftentimes, if I don't know if y'all know Madison Richardson, she went was in my organization and went triple diamond. She was I used to nanny for these young girls that became, women, and they were in college. And one of those girls, Madison, was a mutual friend of one of the girls I used to nanny, and she was a college girl. And I'm like, you know what? Some college girls on my team. And so I was adding some of Ellie's friends, and that's how Madison came along. But I just always felt like that was such a great way that people forget, like, I know it's easier to talk to strangers than people you know, but don't forget about your warm market. But SheriLynn, my warm market, they think this or that. I know my own brother unfollowed me, but you know what? The same brother ended up asking me to borrow money many times in his life. So it is what it is. Okay. But don't forget those warm market people because you kind of already have a little credibility with them. So, anyways, so I wanted to, post, I would message, I would follow up, and I would add new people. So I kind of would come up with what my tasks were each day that I knew I had to do: put up content, be in conversations, get some new people to see my stuff. So then I always looked at my day the night before and I said, when is my work chunk? And I knew I needed like a good 3 hours to really kind of knock out my stuff because I quickly wanted to make this like a full-time thing. And really, I'm like 3 hours a week, right? Monday through Friday, it's only 15 hours a week. And I'm like, if I don't at least treat this like a part-time job, it's not going to pay me, So I was pretty set that I needed like these 3 hour chunks a day to knock out my stuff. So, early on, it meant, and I do not love early mornings, but I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning because my little girls were waking up at 7, but I was able to knock out stuff. One of my kids never napped, but we'd have quiet time. So during quiet time, I would do an hour of stuff. I'd get them to bed. I would do an hour of stuff. So that's kind of where I knew my work chunks. Later, it was different, right? When they were in Mother's Day out, my work chunk looked a little bit different. Or, but I always literally, I like live by a paper calendar. I do a Google one too, but I literally have always had a calendar, but I would write in there my work chunks. And if my kids were at Mother's Day out and I got asked to go to lunch or do this or that, I'm like, no, that's my work time. Like I knew my non-negotiable work times and I had to have that set. And people have to do that with a job, right? You clock in from this time to this time. But if you haven't planned when you can get your stuff done, then how are you going to do it? Like you're not. And then the whole day flies by. And sometimes people are like, man, I need to work harder. Oftentimes I'm like, it's not that you need to work harder, you need to work smarter. And you haven't set your chunks of when. And even when I built my business, I never felt like I was a workaholic or staring at my phone all day because I knew my work chunks. And then if it wasn't a work chunk, I was all in with my family. I was all in with my kids. I was all in with my husband. Almost my whole business, every Saturday morning, I basically took off. But I woke up and I did an 8 a.m. power hour we used to do. So I would do like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I would knock out my stuff. And then guess what? I was off the rest of the day and I did stuff. And yeah, maybe once I got my kids to bed back Saturday night, I might go through and see if there's any little things to reply to. But I didn't have guilt because I had put in all my time. And I would do that in the summers. I would get up early, I would knock out. And the majority of summers, I was done by noon. And then I was the whole rest of the day home with my kids. But I did my chunk. And you might be like, SheriLynn, I'm at work. I can't work till noon. I know, but I'm just saying it. Whatever your life is, you've got to have your time. And so many times it truly is not working harder. It's just finding those nooks and crannies, and then seasons change, right? And et cetera. But that's kind of how I did that, Anna. Sorry, that took me a long time to answer that one question, but there you go.
No, that's good because that actually kind of answered both like two questions. Because another one was how did you kind of navigate the business and have,
Okay.
younger kids? So,
And that really is it. And so many people have like mom guilt. And I'm like, are you joking? Like, I just look at one of my best friends, she works for my kid's school and the admissions. And, I mean, she literally is 8 a.m. to like 4:30 p.m. every day. And I would look at her and be like, man, that is hard. Like, I'm so glad I get to choose my hard. But if I don't put in my work with that, then yeah, to make money, I'm gonna have to go over here and do it, work this 9 to 5. And I truly think that that's a difference, and is I treated this like a job from the moment I joined. And it's hard because, can I tell you something? It didn't pay me like a job at first. I was building it. And I think it helped me to know that before I joined It Works, I looked into starting a clothing boutique. I wanted a baby boutique with kids' clothes. And I went to some meetings and we did research and I was looking at small business loans and all that. And everything I found was like, you make zero profit your first year. So you get through the first year, then you're hoping by year 2 you can start making a low. And I looked at like how long it would take me to make money. And I'm like, dang. Okay, so when I joined It Works, my thought was kind of the same. I'm like, and I remember saying to any person I talked about this business opportunity, I go, listen, if at the end of 1 year we're not making a little money, we can quit. Give it a year. Because I didn't think I would even profit for the first 12 months. I'm like, well, it's a business. I probably won't make any money till after 12 months. So I was shocked when I started even making some when and now you look at it, you're like, oh, 4 customers, you make a $50 bonus, plus you make commission and all these things where I was like, whoa, we didn't even have that then. So I was just relying on like making, commissions from sales. But so I just think it's, treating it like a business. Like that really is, and so I went in with a long-term vision. I went in with, I'm going to give it a year. I'm going to treat it like a job. And if I'm not making something in a year, okay, then I gave it my best, but a lot of times people sign up, they don't treat it like a business. They don't put any effort. And then maybe they're a distributor for a year, but did you treat it like you would have your other job? And I'm not saying the same amount of hours. I'm just saying, do you have little chunks every day or wherever they're scattered out to get your stuff done? So
I love that. I definitely love like having that vision of when you came in, like just knowing, hey, if I don't make anything in a year, then that's when I can kind of quit in a sense. But it's really awesome because when I started to, like, we didn't have the 150 quick start bonuses and all of that you can get now. And I'm like, guys, like you can earn your money back plus so much more in your first 90 days. Like go after it. It's crazy. I remember when I started, I think we only got, I'm pretty sure it was 6 customers and you got some sample packets is what we got. Like you got to pick between the tea and the coffee. Like that's what we got when I joined. And now I'm like, now you can actually earn cash and your money back and more. So it's amazing what you can do with this now. But, okay, so the next customer is, or the next customer, the next question is, what kept you going when things seemed to kind of be going slow, team's not excited, or you felt like you were in a position of needing to grow? What actions did you take with that?
okay, so number one, I always reminded myself, okay, it starts with me. So anytime I felt like I was in like what am I doing to fill myself up? And so I mean, there used to be a couple old Zooms I would listen to of leaders that like pumped me up. It's the strangest secret. I know Rachel would know about it. And I can send you a link, but it's so good. And it would always, I mean, it was like from like the, I don't know, 30s. It's Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, but he talks about just like the power of your mind. And literally it's like from like the 50s. I'll send it to you, Rachel. Y'all could look it up on YouTube. But I would listen to something that would be like, okay, like that would get me going. I actually also loved the 10X rule. Like that was another one where I was like, oh man, like I like reading, listening to that audio book. But I would number one make sure that I'm listening a little bit to something every day to fill me up and get excited. And maybe it's something you already listened to, but you're like, man, the second time, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That was another one where I'm like, it kind of helped, whatever, motivate me. But fill yourself up with something, number one. Okay. Second thing, you have to get loud. You want momentum on your team, you have to get loud. Be loud about what you want more of. What you focus on expands. If you're focused on no one's working, if you're focused on you feel like there's no momentum, if you're focused on things are slow, that's what you're going to see. You start focus on the win of signing a customer. You start focus on that, like that. Oh, this person's doing that. it will change everything. So I would get loud, get extra loud with the work you're putting in, get extra loud and share with your team the message that worked, get extra loud with exactly what you did to sign that customer. Have every single soul that signed a customer or signed a distributor go live and share what they did. Get loud about those things. And what does that do? It starts creating momentum. I can't tell you the number of times I literally felt like there was zero momentum on my team, but I'm like, we about to fake it till we make it. And I got loud. I filled myself up. I started to spout some new vision. And all of a sudden, my excitement, my team started getting excited. I mean, I remember times people sidelines would be like, girl, what are you doing? Your team's on fire. And in my mind, I'm like, girl, I just faked that fire. I didn't tell them that. I'm like, yeah, my team rocks, but I just like, was like, okay, we're creating it. And sometimes if I even needed to get really excited, I'd go and I'd say in a group chat, I want everyone to share one way this business has changed your life. And I would have in my group chat, everyone share something it did. And it was like, man, oh, I lost 40 pounds. Oh my gosh, I was able to, pay off this debt. I was able to, and then I'd be like, okay, this is getting me excited. This is what I have my hands on. Okay. So I'm telling you, anytime, just remember it starts with you, but then you have the power to impact your whole team. Fire spreads. It's crazy. And so, and don't forget, it's okay to get in funks, but you can't stay there because this business is like everything. Who's married? If you're married, you could lift your finger up. Do you always feel like you love your husband like every second of every day? No, there's times I'm like, why did I marry you again? Like your breath stinks. You're on my nerve. And then there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit the lottery and have the best husband in the world, right? My kids. There's times I'm like, these children are my life. And then there's times I'm like, why do people have children? The American dream is fake. They tell you to have kids, and these kids like don't appreciate you and tell you have yellow teeth. And why is there blue under your eye? And I'm like, the blue, what? Is it mascara? No, that's called dark circles because of you guys. And so it's just all the things. You can't work your business based on how you feel, right? Just like I don't show up for my marriage based on how I feel every day. It's not always, butterflies and this and that. And I don't show up as a mom based on how I feel, right? It's like you're committed, like you're in this. And so it's okay that there's times that you're like, this business sucks. If you work a 9 to 5, there's times you're like, my job sucks, right? Like probably more times than not. So you just have to know that part's okay, but like we don't stay there. We get excited. Get excited about the life change. Get excited about what the business has done for me. I get excited about the business, what it's done for my team. Go to your app and look at what you've made so far. You paid $99. What does your app say that you've made? And you're like, look at me. If someone would have told me I would have made $1,000 from this business, I would have said no way. But we forget, when we take those things. Like, so that's what I would say, Anna. You're not always going to feel like it. It's okay, but fill yourself up, listen to something, start getting excited about what you want to see more of, share that with your team, and you'll just start creating that momentum.
And I love now too that we can go in the app and see our lifetime earnings. Because when that popped up on there, I was like, because you do forget how much you've made. And when I saw that, I was like, Cody, look at this. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I'd actually made that much. And it does, it just refuels you. And just seeing from, like you said, what you paid to join to what you've made, it's amazing. It's really awesome. Um, okay, so another one is what does meeting a downline where they are, what does that mean? And when you are guiding them forward, how do you guide them forward? Because we know, like, and Rachel and I were talking about this the other day. We love when the Shirley comes out. We love, hearing that fire from you and stuff, but like you do that without pressure or judgment. That's what we always feel from it. So, like, how do you kind of go about that without the pressure or judgment too?
Yeah. So I think number one, I always loved like asking my team, like, what is your goal? Right. And like literally, I would write it down. Like it'd be like, okay, like Rachel wants to be a full-time family. Okay. Anna wants to do this. Okay. So and so they want to make 500 a month. And that way through the time I could like, and it's like, hey, I can't do this for you, but I can support you and I can remind you maybe when you need to be reminded why you joined. And you know what? Sometimes I might even have to give you some belief and you might have to borrow it from me because you don't believe in yourself yet. Right. And so I remember even like my sister-in-law early on being like, Stacy, you can go diamond, sis. I know this. Like, I know that you took your birthday money to join this. And I know that you don't want to be working, she was working part-time at her kid's school. I'm like, I know you don't want to be a receptionist. Like, let's do this. And I would have those talks. I'm like, I believe in you. You can do this. Let's do this. Like, I know what your goal is. I know what you want. I know you can go diamond. And she'd be like, you really think I can go diamond? And I'm like, yes, let's go. So sometimes I think it looks like that, Anna. It's like, and then it's always like, right, you want to have, and I don't remember, John always says it right, but you don't just want correction without love is like condemnation, right? But you want to have like that correction with love. And that's like, that's really where you're like holding them accountable, right? And you're speaking that belief. So I always talk to people like I want to talk to myself and I say, listen, you know, this is when I want to slow down. The mid-month fizzle. It's literally those 2 weeks in the middle of the month where I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm pumped the first week of the month. The last week of the month, I'm like, I'm running for my goal. Dang, I wish I would have ran the whole month like this. But then I'd have like the mid-month. So I'd always be like, okay, y'all, I just gave myself a mid-month check-in. Where are you at mid-month? Where are you halfway to your goals? If you're not halfway to your goals, what are you going to do? Are you going to shrink your goal? Are you going to turn up the heat? You get to decide. And I think it's just remembering that, like, those things that you kind of fix in yourself, man, when you're a leader and you lead a team, share that with your team. And people don't feel attacked when you're like, listen, I had to do a self check for myself, so let's all self check now. And I think that's really what it is. It's not me being like, I'm doing this perfect and you suck. It's like, ooh, mid-month check-in. Are we halfway there? If not, what do we want to do about it? And that's really what I feel like. And I'm not anyone's boss. Nobody works for me. It's their own business. So at the end of the day, they get to pick what they want to do, but I can lead from the front. I can share what I'm doing. I can, like, anytime the team would joke like, "Uh-oh, Shirley just gave us a spanking." I'm like, "Listen, it's because I spanked myself first." And I had to be like, "SheriLynn, what are you doing? You're not halfway to your goal. Turn up I can either scale down the goals I had for the month, or I can say, whoop, I'm going to massive action. I'm going to turn up the heat. Massive action equals massive results. Anytime I wasn't where I wanted to be, I just had to kind of a little more action. And so that's what I would say. Just, knowing it's okay to kind of have those real talks, coat them in love, and share what you would want someone to share with you.
So when you are like, because what one girl asked what meeting your downline where they're at. So like if you have someone where it's like, you're kind of struggling with them in a sense, like what do you do? Because you see it for them, but obviously, you can't do it for them like you were
Yeah,
saying,
make
but
it.
where do you kind of like draw that line in a sense?
So John did tell me this early on. I had the crew that joined with me, and I will never forget having Sweet Lisette quit. I'll never forget even one day I sat with this other girl, story, and her sitting at coffee letting me know that she'd gone diamond, but that's as far as she's gonna go. And she's pretty like, because here's the thing. I everyone to go on to be an ambassador. And you might be here and you're like, everyone that joins you, you see them as diamond, or everyone that joins you, you're like, they should be a triple diamond. And John had to say, SheriLynn, not everybody has that ambassador vision. Not everyone is going to be a CEO of a company. People join for different reasons. And I think that's why it's important to know what is their goal. Because if their goal isn't to go Ruby, you can't make them go Ruby. Which is why it's really important, even in your chart, knowing you've got someone's name somewhere, you can't make them be Ruby if that's not their goal. You can't make them be your dot. And so I think it helped me when he told me that. And I'm like, but I don't get it. I feel like, why would not everyone want to go ambassador? Why would not everyone? He's like, you need people that just want to be on your team. And maybe all they want to do is run an auto ship every month to use the products and hop on some Zooms for community. That's okay for them. Maybe there's someone else. And so I think that really, I was like, whoa, because I had so many of my, I don't want to be like, oh, they were all the yellows, but it was a lot of my friends that she quit. She quit. She quit. And these were like real life friends that joined me. So it wasn't even like a stranger from social media. And it's like, I was too hard on them. I was trying to get them to have the same goals I had. That's not what they wanted. And so they're like, whoa, SheriLynn's too much. She's like trying to make me have rap parties and she's on my tail and asking for charts. I don't want this. And I remember that was really eye-opening for me, that I'm like, okay, it's not it's not bad, but you need 400 boxes. You need people that are distributors. You need people that are executives. You need people that are rubies. You need people that want to be your diamonds. And that's where I felt like it helped me to know what they wanted. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to ride you hard and be, when you're telling me like your goal is this. But then there's ones that I do think you can say, girl, that might not be your goal, but you could go diamond. Tell me if you want it. I want to work with you. You can go diamond. I see it, and giving them, that little bit of like belief and stuff. But I think it helps to know, Anna, what is it that they want?
Okay, I love that. So, Tegan said, for instance, if someone actually says they don't want to go Ruby, would you move PMs around under them to make them go Ruby if it was going to help you promote?
So there's times in my mind where I'm like, sure, it's my like I want my paycheck. It's not that I'm giving it to you. Like I need you that like I would know in my mind this is not a long-term solution. Okay, you got a goal. You're like, I'm getting diamond bonus. I'm doing this. Yes, there's times, but I always in my chart like highlighted who were the people there. And if there's a leg, and we called it like a dead leg, like no one's really working, and I'm doing it because I have to do it for me. Fine, I got to do that, but I have to know that's not going to stay Ruby because she's not working. She doesn't want it. So I got to make sure that I'm planning and thinking who's going to eventually compress up and be that Ruby because I can't. I never signed enough to just, I couldn't maintain a whole chart on my own or anything like that. So I needed those people on those legs. So sure, were there times I did like, yeah, I'm not going to not get my $10,000 bonus because I'm waiting for the person to catch the vision. I knew if I kept signing, eventually someone would come, but you just have to know, okay, this is this, but this isn't long term. It's a little band-aid, and I got a goal and I'm doing it, and I got to put these customers somewhere, but it's more of a band-aid. And there were times that if you would have asked me my first year in the business, charting advice, I'd have been like, girl, you go your shortest route, shortest route. As time went on, I was like, actually, there's times I would take a longer route if it meant having a leg head that was working over a shortest route with no workers, because at the end, the longer route actually would last, and that made more sense. So that I had to actually kind of learn that. But I'm going to build, and eventually people are going to catch the vision with me, but then I'm going to be like, okay, you're my babies. You are key people.
Okay, yeah, I love that because that is good because it does. I mean, I think, like you said, the longer route sometimes that's just ends up being the best. But I know it can be a little, you're like, ooh, but we've got these bonuses right now. Like, I really want to. So it's kind of just hit and miss, see what's going on at the moment. Okay, and so
Yeah.
one more that we had was if you had any like family members or friends, which I know you had kind of talked about like your brother unfollowing you, but did you have any family members or friends that didn't like believe in you or, kind of was like
Yeah.
gave you some discouragement things
Total.
like those kinds of things?
Here's the thing, no matter what you do in life, people have opinions. Whether it's if you're breastfeeding or formula feeding, or if you do this or if you do that, or are you a no phone, no social media parent, or you one that does it? Like people are going to judge you no matter what you do. It's like that's life, right? Like so at the end of the day, I heard it said and it always stuck with me. Other people's opinions don't pay my bills. And I sit here at a desk I went on to make far more than this, but this was what I got years ago at a conference. It's probably hard to see. It's a trophy that says $2 million. And I got this, I don't know, 6 years ago when I had made $2 million with this company. I have dyslexia. I couldn't read till my second time in third grade. I was 10. So many learning disabilities. Like I don't come from a family with like a silver spoon. I mean, I could go into all, I've battled eating disorders the majority, of my teenage years, my adulthood. I have two brothers that are both addicts. I have one brother that's currently homeless. Like I don't cut my dad died of a heart attack, was a Vietnam vet, died of a heart attack when I was 22 years old, 3 weeks after I got married. Like life wasn't perfect. I had parents that fought, had lots of debt, like didn't have a great marriage. Alcoholism, like in my family. Like so, but at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Their opinions don't pay my bills, and I'm so glad I didn't let that stop me from what this ended up doing for me. I'm like, man, yeah, getting unfollowed, getting blocked, having some people talk about me. I went on to be able to create a life for my family that I wouldn't have dreamed of. I mean, literally, I'm like, I ended up making multiple millions of dollars building in the field as a rep. And man, imagine if I let what they said stop me from what I wanted to do for my family. And I'm saying all things about my life, and you might be like, SheriLynn, your story is easy. Mine's so much harder. Yours probably is so much harder. I don't know. All I know is we all have our own story. We all have our own life. And I watched this vehicle work for me. And I was someone that honestly didn't feel smart most of my life, that always felt kind of stupid, yet I was still able to take this and be successful. And so it's like, when people said stuff, most of the time I actually was like, oh, I feel so sad for you. You're going to stay broke and I'm going to be a millionaire. And like that's what I would think in my mind because I literally believed in it so much. And this was far before I had even made anything. But like, I just was like, oh, that's sad. Do you think that? Like, and I really didn't let it get to me. I think I was just so confident in what I had, and it did help that I did go diamond in 3 months, and to me that was like so life changing. And then I watched other people on my team hit diamond and earn bonuses, and I just was like, this is real. So I don't, yeah, people are gonna not support you. People called it a pyramid scheme or called it a scam or this or that, and then I'm like, yeah, man. And then I'll never forget John and I getting invited to the Kingdom Builders top donors dinner at the church we were attending. And I was like, why are we here? Oh my gosh, we're top givers here. Like, man, that's crazy. And the Lord wants to bless people that are going to be good stewards. And I think if we're faithful with the small, he'll make us rulers over many. And so I truly believe like there's people that are going to be blessed. Why not you? And so, yes, people are going to say stuff. People are going to judge you, but that's going to be in anything. That's going to be in everything. And so I just said, other people's opinions aren't paying for my bills. So you can talk how you want. I watched John and I be able to go from paycheck to paycheck, him driving a car that when you hit the gas, it wouldn't even accelerate because it had so many miles and it was honestly dangerous. We had our air conditioning unit go out, and Esty and Cookie had to lend us a window unit because we couldn't afford to get it fixed in a hot summer in Midland, Texas, because we were, newlyweds and had no money. So I'm just like, I look from what we were able to do and I think that right there just made me think, I don't care what you say. Like this is life changing. And my kids don't even know like the life of struggle that I grew up in or that John and I lived early on. And I'm thankful they don't know that, but it's life changing. And so, yeah, I think you just say people will always hate. Haters gonna hate, but you just be confident in what you're doing and do it unapologetically because you're doing it for you and your family.
Yeah, and that's something that is always just a good reminder to know that you joined this for a reason, and more than likely it's, for your family, and it doesn't matter what others are gonna say. Everyone's always gonna say something, no matter what. Everyone will always have an opinion, but you just go after what it is that's been laid on your heart, and the Lord will just bless you through it if you just keep being dependent on Him. But is there anything else? We didn't have any other questions, but is there anything else that you would want to say to these girls that are, us that are just really trying to like those going diamond, but then also like, going double, triple, like us that
Yeah.
are trying to push for those things?
I mean, I would say pen to paper. That's one thing I always say. So we've got 2 weeks left. Don't forget your goal. Take that goal and write it down, pen to paper. When you put it down and then you speak it out loud to someone, it's so much more likely to come to pass. And I would tell you, don't be scared and go for it. I never regretted going for a goal. I'll never forget the first time I had ambassador on my mirror. I would write all of my goals with a dry erase marker on my bathroom mirror, and it said December 31st. And I'll never forget that December coming around. I'm like, gosh, we're so far. We're not going to hit it. And guess what? We didn't hit it. But you know what? I was like, okay, new date, March 31st. We're going for this. We're going for this. And I'll never forget us hitting that in February. It ended up happening a month before I thought. So it's like, man, put it out there, go for it. And worst case, you ended up closer than you would have been. And the only way you fail is if you quit. So I had to set a new date. You know how many times that happened? Who cares? And then take it. And remember, it's the beauty of direct sales, where multi-level marketing, where you have a team. Get your team to set their goals. Ask them to show you their goal. Challenge. And when you get everyone going for something, man, it's so much different than just a team of people working and signing some customers, signing distributors, of when you have a team where they all have dates, pen to paper. They have their date, they have their goal. I say it all the time. You have to see it. So visualize yourself hitting that goal. You have to believe it. Why not you? People are doing it. Why not this team? You have the favor of the Lord. Why not you? See it, believe it, pray for it, because I believe prayer moves the hand of God. And then, yes, you do have to put in the work. And I would always say, Lord, bless what I put my hands to. I'm not going to be, ignorant and think I can pray, God, blow up my business and do nothing. So I had to step out in faith. I had to do the work. I had to send the messages. I had to do the follow up. But I knew if I, was faithful and did those things, it would happen. So see it, believe it, pray for it, work for it, and write those goals down, pen to paper. And I believe in this team. I'm excited to see what you guys do. And it's exciting when everyone goes for something. Like a rising tide causes all the boats, right, to lift. And so that's really what you guys can do together. So proud of this team.
Thank you so much for being on with us too. I know it meant a lot to all of
Absolutely.
us. It was so awesome to be able to hear from you. And yes, we are going just one rank up, one rank higher, and we'll continue to
You
reach out.
got it.
All
You
right.
guys got it. I'm cheering for you. You
Thank you
guys.
guys. Bye.